you know, taking over for Lena this week, so we'll try to get through it. I'd like to start with the acknowledgement. I'd like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Ktunaxa, the Syilx, and the Sinite peoples, and is home to the Métis and many diverse Aboriginal persons. We honor their connection to the land and rivers and respect the importance of their environment to our strength as a community. And the second part is the consent agenda, and if anyone had anything they wanted to remove to discuss further. If not, can I get a vote?
I'll move.
I'll second it.
Can I get a vote? So passes. So the next item is the presentation from Michelle.
Hi, everyone. How are y'all doing today? My name is Michelle, and I'm with the province, and I'm the Senior Governance Advisor. And it's not so much a presentation, it's just sort of a discussion about the changes to the amendments to the Act around budget. And so I'm just here to pop in and just to kind of give you a couple changes that have happened and see if there's any questions. And I'm just confirming that right now is the time to do that and that you don't have to other business to attend to first.
This is perfect time.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, so with the new amendments to Section 27 under the budget provisions, I think they've been made quite a bit more clear now. So by November 30th is when the board needs to prepare and submit their budget to the council. And then if there's any changes after that, those have to be submitted by March 1st. So now there's a little bit of a time period between March 1st and May 15th, where if council has more questions or there's any concerns about an item in the budget, that's the time to have the conversation and try to work that out for the budget. And then at any time, council can request the director to step in and make a decision anytime before May 15th. However, if May 15th rolls around and it hasn't been sorted out, then in the Act, council must notify the board that there's still outstanding items, and then council must ask the director to make a determination on that item or issue. So a little bit different, but hopefully it's much more clear and set timelines. And then there's that good time period for everyone to communicate and work together on any issues that might still be outstanding. So not much of a presentation, but there you have the amendments. Is there any questions or anything around that?
I just had a question, Michelle. It's just Raj. My question is just for clarity purposes. Is that the reference to Section 27 sub 3 of the Police Act? That extension?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you find that you have questions after the meeting or something comes up, please feel free to email me. I'm here at any time to answer questions. So, yeah. Yes.
It's Jane.
Jane.
How did you get to that timeline as far as dates, like with input from councils and boards and the province, or?
So I didn't have much input into the creation of that amendment. So I would have to go back to our policy and ledge team and figure out how that came to be. And I can certainly ask.
Just curious about what the background is. Thanks.
I can tell you that May 15th is the drop dead date for the city of Nelson to file their complete budget plan for the year. So that's May 15th.
Coordinated with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Well, I guess that's it for me then.
Thank you, Michelle.
No problem. I'm just gonna stay in for part of the police board meeting, and then I'm gonna hop out in about 15 minutes. But like I said, feel free to reach out anytime with any questions.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, the next item is I guess you guys had it in the July meeting, was this the review of the police board manual? And I was just gonna check, because it seems like there's a few changes. I was wondering if everyone had gone through in detail, if this is something you guys want to discuss now or table it for later. So if so, we can go through each item, otherwise we can kind of save it for next time.
Number 4. For some reason, mine's not loading when I.
Okay.
There.
Link
on
speaking.
it.
Okay.
Yeah. They seem pretty. No,
Okay.
I don't know. I did, yeah. I don't have any questions really.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
I
nice.
don't either. Refresh my mind. Yeah. That's great.
So most of the items, Lena and I sat down and added all the revised Police Act items.
Yeah,
And then there's a few things that are in red that we felt that needed to be discussed further. A lot of it was regarding virtual participation, because that was put in during COVID times, towards the end of the manual. See the things in red. The mission statement we changed to the current, or what's going to be the current mission statement when we release the new strategic plan. So.
I have a couple things that aren't in red that need to be changed, and it's around the mayor and as the chair. So on page 6, section 25, Chair Municipal Police Board, point 1, it says the mayor of council is referred to in section 23 is the chair of the Municipal Police Board. And then also on page, I think it was page 9, the same. It was the same.
Mayor's chair.
Mayor is the chair.
Okay.
Yeah. Page 9, composition of board selection and appointments.
Can I just make a request or a point of clarification for future, just because it's one of my first meetings? When I looked at the, the updated manual, I actually just thought the changes were all in red, and I didn't realize that there had been changes throughout the whole document. So just for us newbies, it might be helpful to understand, to look for changes throughout in the future. Okay, thank you.
Oh, those were changed. I just noticed that's the legislation's changed, and I'm saying they haven't changed. Those are things that need to be changed because the legislation's changed, and they're not changed in the when I was looking at it, I noticed that it was still saying the mayor is the chair. So
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
and so the red, you want us to discuss each of the red parts? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can do it in order if anyone has any comments on the mission statement.
I think we workshopped that pretty hard. I don't want to change it at this point.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
I think the next item was
The appointment of the vice chair, I think.
the role of the vice chair, yeah, which I think is pretty.
That's page 15, 16. Oh, yeah, it's coming up. My little thing is saying 15, 16.
Right, yeah, it depends on format, right?
Yeah, there was never a vice chair before, so it
Yeah.
had to be added.
There is. And if there's no comments, the next one is 23. I think it starts at number 16 for technical matters. And if with nothing there, I think 18 should probably be discussed or removed. Is it saying that we should all use headsets and headphones during a teleconference? I'm guessing that's a security risk of outside people listening.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anyone has comments on whether we should keep that or.
So when would this come up?
I think in times, I can say, for example, I was on a call last week regarding we'll get to it later.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was on a cell phone. I was in a car with the windows up, but it could come up where using headphones would be probably preferred if it's a sensitive matter.
Right, so outside of our meetings here.
Yes.
Is when this would apply.
Or if you
Or
zoom
if you're
in,
Yeah.
videoing,
yeah.
you're remote.
Yeah, from another place
Yeah,
other than
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
What if you don't have things like that?
And does it stipulate wireless headphones or wired headphones? Just if they're gonna go down that.
It just says headphones.
I don't know that all Bluetooth headphones are encrypted. Probably.
I mean, it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I don't have any problem with it being in the board manual. I think it's, makes sense.
I imagine if it's in the board manual, there should be some consideration though for making sure that everybody has the appropriate device.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you don't have a headset, then one should be supplied so that you have it during your term.
Yeah, because I don't have any of this stuff, and if I'm traveling for work and sitting in a hotel room, like, would it apply that I would need to put headphones on even in that situation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the situation did come up. I was in San Juan and I didn't have any headphones. I couldn't get any headphones.
So if you
Interesting
can,
rule.
So it says like 18, it says when these have been provided, but I mean,
Yeah.
I think that do we in this day and age, do we need to be doing that extra safeguarded step? And I would say, how many of these meetings, not these meetings, but meetings in general I've done remotely, I think it's worthy that in 2024 we need to more security or safety around that. And so we don't have and we're going to leave it there, then it shouldn't really be, I mean, they should be provided.
Yeah.
I mean,
Should
if they haven't been provided,
yeah.
then guess what? You're not using them. You don't have a pair. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
but I think it should be more, it should be than maybe, you know what, they're not, just to get a set of earphones that plug into your phone or not that. I don't think we have to go out and buy everybody a Bose noise canceling set of headphones, but you know, I've got mine in my,
Both phones don't have.
The newest phones, don't, the last 2 generations of phones don't even have headphone jacks. These do, though.
Yeah, our iPads do.
yeah, I mean, I have, matter of fact, this one's so old, I've got the dongle to go so I can plug it into my that, or I can plug it into my phone. So, and there, I have them all the time. Those are
So do we want
$10
to
on Amazon.
all get back to Shiloh on whether we have those devices ourselves or whether we require them, and then?
probably the best. I mean, right now I supply the iPad, so means, but like Eric says, I wouldn't be able to, if you were away and we needed a board member on a call, what happens when you don't have a headset with you, or your phone isn't compatible with headset? Right. So if you write it in the manual and be super specific that it has to be, you need to wear a headset. What happens in those cases when we need a board member on this phone call? You don't have access to headset at that time.
I guess my second question here is only, if I got my phone to my ear or if I got a headset on, you can still hear half my conversation. So what's the difference between having a headset and having my phone to me? I'm not really sure. It might be more so that since the security doesn't really change there, it might be more so that don't do hands-free with your, because either way, your own voice is going to be audible.
I could reach out to the other boards and see how their wording is and see what they have in their
Sure.
manuals, if you like, and then
Yeah.
see what the standard might be.
Because I think the risk is what Jen just mentioned is, that you actually are creating a situation where people won't attend at all because they won't be able to meet the requirement. So, and I don't know if that's a real risk or a hypothetical risk, but, and I don't know how often it would even come up, but I think that's the unintended consequences of a mandatory or prescriptive.
Or there should be wording that you do your best possible effort to be secure and not allow someone who shouldn't be listening to be able to hear the conversation.
Yeah, take precautions to isolate yourself acoustically from the cone of silence from Get Smart movies. But certainly, I looked it up and Bluetooth is encrypted using a
It says, if you have them provided, but then it says, then shall, which is a very strong word, I think legally. In A and B, it's shall. Like, it's funny that it starts off with if it's provided, but then when you read more, then it's a shall.
Mm-hmm.
So even the 18 has got mixed metaphors.
Yeah, I almost want, I mean, B should be in there, but I wonder about A.
Well, and maybe it should be more, instead of headphones, like, because it doesn't actually say anything about being in like a private closed, like, great, I'm on a headset in the coffee shop, I'm overdosing. You know?
You can hear some people's headphones.
Oh, yeah, they get it, got them so loud.
Yeah. But I'm following the letter of the board manual.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't actually say anything about being in a, like, private
space.
So we just hold at 18 and then Shiloh, if you talk to a few people and see, and maybe we might even be changing it to that you do it in the bathroom with the door locked.
Right.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
The outcome.
isolation is really what you
I like
need,
your
right?
outcome oriented
If
kind
people
of
can hear
thing.
my voice, I'm still a problem, right? If they can hear my conversation.
Okay, that works. And I think 19 might be a little redundant as Shiloh has all our numbers. It's saying you have to provide it before every meeting. I don't know if you change it to say if not previously provided.
Yeah.
Then I think the next one's on page 28.
Okay, I can scroll through.
Absolutely.
On service and policy complaints. Did anyone have any comments or changes?
I personally just, my preference would be to state what they are first before stating what they're not. So like change the order of the, unless there's a reason not to. Change the order of like service or policy complaints are not complaints regarding actions, that maybe goes down lower or.
Maybe right from the police act or something.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Well, because then it goes into more detail on the act, so it
I'm pretty
might,
sure it's right directly from the police act,
okay.
but I'll confirm that.
I mean, it, for what's here, it's clear. It just is a bit like, okay, you're telling us what they're not. How about tell us what they are first?
Mhm.
Yeah, I like that, Jane.
Yeah, me too.
I think on the next page under board government style and commitments, number 3.
This is as per the act. Yeah,
Sure, yeah.
independent municipal council and its department.
So, would that mean like, so like our HR is their HR, right? Like, would that, like, is that a department of the municipal council or?
So this is specific to the board, right? The board must be and seen to
Oh,
be
yeah,
a
that's right.
perception as well as a requirement, and it's the board.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
So like,
So, yeah, so I would think the department is integrated,
Yeah.
but the board should be independent.
yeah, totally.
It does bring up an interesting question though, around like board in the past has sought advice and counsel from HR director. Like the board has, not the department. Like the department does, but the board has also.
But I
Well,
think
you
would
can
have the
seek
right
advice.
to seek advice from any group you want to, you could do third party, or when you don't want to spend a ton of money, you're gonna potentially.
Then I would see that as a distinction.
Which then that brings us to like, for example, our the collective bargaining, like the fact that we've used like the city manager for that.
You could choose not to, though.
Yeah,
Yeah, if it was required, it would be a perception issue.
okay.
So I think, I mean, again, I'm talking a little out of school here, but my perception is that these are historical practices, but they're not mandatory requirements. So I would suggest that as a board, we could meet the requirement of being independent, and that we just need to be mindful going forward, despite historical practice, that we have choices. And so, you know, maybe we don't always default, but we think about if there are, if that makes sense versus just relying upon past practice.
Mhm.
Yeah,
If that makes sense.
yeah, I completely agree with you. Thanks.
The next one's under Appendix A on page 41, Administrative Orientation B.
Mhm.
I mean, that does imply that we have an incoming director when the other one is leaving.
That there's overlap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could say if possible.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I think the final one is, well, page 43, Appendix C, number 2. I could just say that the chief is the chief and chair are responsible for media and public relations.
Or designates, should it say, or designates?
I actually had a question about that too, because, you know, Lena's one hesitation about taking on the chair role was because of her concern about having to do any media stuff. And she asked me if I would do it. I didn't know where that all went. Lay, as far as can she designate, or can the chair designate?
Well, you have a vice chair. But I have to say that I personally struggle with this one because when the media comes looking, they're going to come looking for the mayor, whether the mayor is at this table or not. This is a municipal police force.
Yeah.
The mayor,
Yeah.
even if not at this table, in my mind, has to be informed of what the communication is, because I think that the voice always has to sound the same, that we're on the same page. And if you leave the city completely out of it, I think it becomes a problematic thing in terms of media. Like, I'm already contemplating the shit. We'll just call it the shit.
Yeah.
I'm already contemplating that because they might phone Lena, or they might phone you. They're gonna phone the chief, but they're also gonna have the mayor on speed dial.
I think there's a difference between board structure though, and how things get implemented. So from my perspective, and again, I'm new, I get that. So if I'm saying things out of order, please just tell me. But my perception and what I would be used to is that the chief and the chair are responsible. They're responsible and accountable for media. That doesn't mean they have to be the ones always doing media. And it doesn't mean that there shouldn't be commonality in messaging, key messaging, and that the right people are aligned. So to me, there's a distinction there. So like, I would feel more comfortable if this said media's chief and chair or designates. And that would allow Lena, if she's not comfortable, to designate whether it be the mayor or, vice chair or anyone else. And it doesn't prevent, and it shouldn't prevent, that, the chief.
Right. Well, and that makes sense. I think that there should be some discussion in terms of whatever the media might be in terms of things that the department is doing and whatever. I mean but keeping in mind that I guess for me is that just looks like that's exactly what happens, but something else is potentially going to happen.
Yeah, the how, the how needs to be clearly aligned amongst anyone who would likely be contacted in the event of a major media story, which, so I think that's a how question. And I don't think this, if you add the words or designate, it actually would allow, and it would prompt people to think about the process around who's talking and what the key messages are to the media.
And this, the appendix here is director responsibilities to be signed annually, right? Like, it's not, like, it actually isn't the policy around who it's like literally, because the red line isn't going to be in there, right? I'm assuming, like, looking at it, it looks like we're just striking out point 2 in terms of like this feels like a different conversation than what this is saying. So, I'm good with that being struck from the manual, that like for that point, because it's about who responsibility is assigned annually. Definitely hear what you're saying.
Yeah, so no, I know, I see that now. Like, I'm just like looking at it for, read these red line documents. So I think so 2 is gone. So it's going to be 1, 3 is 2, and 3 is 4.
Yeah.
And that's not even going to be in there.
So just from my understanding, there will be no clarity as to who's responsible for media then?
Well, I think that's a different conversation than this manual update, like that.
So you're taking it out of appendix C altogether because it does belong somewhere else.
Yeah.
Is what does it say somewhere else though? Or I
Yeah.
just like it to be, especially with media.
Yeah.
I like it personally, this is more of a personal like governance
Yeah.
view, that you have assigned protocols around media.
So the legislation just changed in June,
Yeah,
right?
I
So
understand.
up until June, it was the mayor and the chief. So that's, yeah, I mean, definitely. I don't know where.
Page 36 says the chair of the board is the official spokesperson.
There you go.
Here it is.
But I think there's a caveat to that, isn't there? Because in some circumstances, even the chief might be the DA, and there might be some conflict in relation to him, and he might designate or designate myself or vice versa. And I think, usually everything goes through the board secretary to arrange media and any type of responses that we kind of make.
Yeah, so I'll add in that section 36, 37, say.
Oh, it's page 36, sorry.
Yeah,
And it
actually,
says the chair of board may appoint a board director as spokesman for specific matters. It does say that it goes through you. The chair of the board is the official spokesperson for the board. Media requests for interviews shall be forwarded directly to the chair or via the board secretary. So if we think it should always go through the board secretary, could strike the directly. And the chair or board may appoint a board director as a spokesperson for specific matters. I think you're all covered off.
Yeah. Okay.
All covered off.
Thank you for.
So and then, so I see that that's a strikeout completely and that kind of.
And that addresses your concern that you previously raised.
I think that's about it. I don't think any motion was needed for that.
I'll make the changes and then send it out by email to you guys.
and then we'll come back around to the headphone thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, what if eventually we have some sort of, ability to communicate without headphones where it goes directly into our brains and then headphones become obsolete? Maybe
I'm
Apple.
I'm running for the hills.
Gee, I just want to let you know that I'm not having an implant, okay?
Me either.
Well, that's what 5G is all about. They're going to beam it right into.
But if some people chose to and they didn't want to have headphones, that would be okay.
The deputy chief's report.
Yes, I can just provide a quick update in some of the open forum stuff. BCACP, so British Columbia Association of Municipal Chiefs of Police Association and British Columbia Association of Chiefs of Police. They've implemented a gun buyback program. It's in the early stages. I'm on the committee. I'm actually co-chairing the committee, led by the RCMP, and there's federal funding for that. It's more rural, so we're probably looking at a regionalized approach. That's one of the discussions that was been had at the meeting. The second was the JIBC recruit training model. They're talking about going to a larger model with more recruits able to go to the college. They're upping it to 96, a 3 and 96 program. So the classes, revamping this model will require an increase in the cost, approximately about 5%. That's what they're estimating at this point. But they're still working through the numbers, and there's supposed to be a report coming out later this year in regards to what the final costs are. So there will be an increase in relation to that if they go to that model.
Can you clarify what their old model, what the number was?
Right now, how many? 64?
Yeah.
I think 64 recruits that attend. So then 3 times a year. Now they're going up to 96 recruits. So the additional costs are for additional trainers. So they're going to require more people to train, portables, more equipment. So that's where the additional costs are. Talking about a 55% increase, and they're looking at government for some funding. The majority of the funding, and then each police service is going to be on the hook. They're estimating 5%. I would plus or minus.
And does that guarantee us another seat if we want it, or?
We get guaranteed seats. We have a really good relationship with the JIBC. And they usually send out a yearly plan and a 3 and 5 year plan. I'm looking for recruit wise. This year, like you said, we just sent 2 recruits, and we were able to kind of mitigate that by pulling one from the May class and putting two in the September class. So, the relationship's pretty good with the JIVC in regards to sending recruits, and they work with us. So that wouldn't be an issue. I think we definitely, for the next 3 years, I've slotted us for at least one recruit a year, just to be on the preventative side. But that's usually year to year. We can wind up having those discussions. Gets to that year. Patrol-wise, busy summer. There's 797 calls for the month of August. Patrol priorities focused on liquor license premises establishments, alcohol offenses and nuisance offenses that usually occur with consumption of alcohol. We focus on Baker Street Foot Patrol. We had a couple complaints about people kind of loitering there, so the focus was definitely towards more visibility and being available and present for the shop owners. And then traffic enforcement down at Lions Park was another major focus of the summer.
Lions Park?
Yes. Yeah. We had some concerns there about some speeding and some infractions and that. So we drew some attention there. As most of you on the board are aware, we had an exempt from Winnipeg, Renee Sass, join us in August. And then we had 2 recruits that we just swore in on September 5th, and they're at the JMBC this week. So that's 3 more members to our team. General investigations, still focusing on property and person-related crimes. We'll continue the investigations as they come in, and helping the patrol lead section. Dispatch, we continue to recruit for relief dispatchers. And then Community Safety Officer Edwards has been very proactive and visible in the community. She's been attending a lot of local markets and special events throughout the month of August. We've got a bunch of events that have gone on. Road Kings, Pride Parade, so she was visible in all those night markets as well. And her stats kind of speak for herself. Restorative Justice, Barb Vincent's going to be taking over as coordinator, and the plan is to relaunch the program at the beginning of October when she gets volunteers and has to sit down. And then Victim Services has been very busy regionally and locally. There's just a bunch of stats for that. So that's my update.
So just to clarify, Barb Vincent going to be doing both of those roles, victim services and?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, just going to be focusing on restorative justice.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, she has some background in it.
Yeah.
So she kind of got caught up to speed with Kathy, see where it was at, and she's got a pretty good idea. So she's going to evaluate it, and then at the end of it, she's going to run it for about 4 months. Then we get some data and collections and kind of see where we're at. Come back with a wholesome business case to see where we want to go with it. If it's going to be a full-time spot, we want to promote, or we want to promote, going out to the Kootenai or Restorative Justice Program, contracting it out. So it'll give us a better understanding of where to go. Yes, Mayor.
Just go to your first comment about the gun buyback program.
Yeah.
Just curious to know, is that long guns and handguns?
All restricted firearms. Yeah.
So you don't think handguns are in?
They haven't been finalized. Like I said,
Oh, okay.
it's in the
That's
infancy
what I
right
was
now.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of working on it. We're working through what's going to be happening. So what's kind of gone on is it started back about 2 years ago. It got put on the shelf, and then all of a sudden, I guess the federal level government kind of said, well, this is very important for us. So it's being pushed at this point. Now with the election kind of going on, there's a bunch of things that are kind of playing here at play. So we got to just kind of figure out where we're at. It's more of a higher level kind of level of government that's kind of playing in, see where we're going to go with this.
Okay. And can I just ask you one other question? A bit of a sidebar, but it seems like in Canada we see a lot more activity with knives. And if I'm arrested and I have a knife, do I get my knife back, or do you keep it for forever?
Well, it depends. It depends if the knife was used in the offense, right? Like, it's not illegal to possess a knife if you're using to cut fruits and whatnot, right? But if you use that knife to brandish at somebody, that's a threat, or use it in an actual offense, yeah, then it becomes a prohibited weapon or possession of weapons dangerous. Then it becomes an arrestable offense and seized as evidence.
Okay, but I wouldn't, so if I waive it and then I don't get it back at some point, like if once the court is over, can I get my big Bowie knife back? Like I'm just curious about, at some point, do I ever get it?
Well, there would be probably a prohibition against the person to have
Okay.
any restrictions as it relates to if they're convicted of that offense, right?
Okay.
So there's a bunch of criteria. I couldn't.
Yeah,
give
no,
you
no,
a-
just, that's good.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you, Rob.
that's it. You're welcome.
Can I get a motion that the Nelson Police Board receives and accept the Deputy Chief's constitutive report as presented? And Devin, second by Jane. Vote. Motion passed. And for the director's report, Lena's out here, we'll table the BC Association of Police Board report till she's back next meeting. And then it's me to discuss the attendance for when I was in Halifax for the Canadian Association of Police Government Conference. I'll kind of keep it somewhat short. I actually quite enjoyed it. A lot of issues we've talked about, but probably in more detail because we had senators, doctors, and everything kind of going on it. It kind of kicked off with a focus on board training, especially for new members, just to you kind of get thrown in blind. And I think it's been identified that there's mumblings that they're kind of working on something to kind of more clearly define our roles and, what we do and what's expected of us and how to proceed and sort of thing. So that was a good discussion. The other one was recruiting issues. And they specifically said that they are actually keeping spots open because they just don't have good candidates. I think we kind of know that. Just saying that. Applications have dropped significantly, which leads to good candidates dropping similarly, and just the idea to rather wait and hire someone who's good than fill it with someone who's kind of not qualified. And the issues with that. Can't read. They talked about the roles of police board, setting an effective strategic plan, which we just did. So I think that was good. They also kind of mentioned for future instances when we're doing stuff that we can reach out to other boards, and they were very happy to share what they've done to kind of show what they've done and prevent kind of too much thinking something that's already been done by someone else, and just to see what the kind of status quo is. Another thing they mentioned, Lena said, they said that a lot of these boards have kind of an additional in-camera meeting, which is just the board, not the deputy or the chief. So that's something to kind of think about going forward. There was a good discussion on they called it depolicing and the role that social media is having in what the doctor who wrote it.
Dr. Brown.
Yeah, surveyed, I guess, everyone across North America, and we're seeing that trend that a lot of sergeants are encouraging their officers to kind of avoid situations that they weren't specifically requested to be involved in case that it's involved with someone of a minority or something that could be posted on social media with some kickback. But he said that a lot of people are trending. There's a bunch of acronyms they said where they just turn around and go home instead of involving themselves, and just because it's not worth the blowback to the police department. So that was kind of an interesting trend that they're seeing with
But was reconciled with public safety.
Did it just blink off before you got back?
To have a police officer walk away.
I would
because
say
of
there was
social media.
a large discussion on, and I think they're pretty much saying unless they're specifically told to go somewhere, they generally wouldn't do it or were encouraged not to. This is probably
Sorry, Eric.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Dr. Brown's study is basically based on carding, individual carding and racial profiling.
Yeah.
And that's where he started his premise on that.
Okay.
And then it kind of comes out of the Ferguson incident that happened in Missouri there. And this has kind of led to police officers saying, it's not worth it. I'll do my job, but I'm not going to do the proactive stuff, like stopping people, identifying people and saying, well, why you out at 3:00 in the morning? So it's not really the public safety component of it. Is get dispatch the call, take care of the call, but none of the proactive police work.
And this is a trend
Thank you.
across North America, not in Canada
It was
specifically,
both,
right?
yeah.
Here, yeah.
They just had different acronyms, Canada, US. That was interesting. Another one was on essentially emergencies and mass evacuations. Because Halifax had quite a big fire, I think last year, or the year before. They essentially said, whatever plan you have, it won't go as you plan it.
You could have provided input, hey?
They kind of put in that people will always stick to or drive in areas or in routes that they're familiar with, no matter what you tell them to do. And I think it was just making sure people were aware, kind of adapt, and are kind of set that whatever plan you have isn't going to work necessarily. Which was kind of interesting because they actually had a pretty successful evacuation, I think, of the fires over there. Which I now learned that Nova Scotia, it's just trees everywhere. I'd never been there. Another one, sorry? No. Another one that they kind of went into was the Durham Regional Police. It was on health programming. I guess they had set up this program to kind of, I won't go into details, but kind of monitoring officers' kind of mental health and physical health and looking at ways to get them involved in the program because it wasn't mandatory. I think it was more voluntary, and they had some encouragements. So they just kind of went over the results because it's been an evolving program and kind of the successes they've seen in kind of reducing time off from officers relating to incidents which could have been prevented or possibly with kind of continuous mental health or physical health or other stuff. There's another one on evidence-based policing where I think the woman was kind of more of an analytical role in the department, and she kind of constantly looking at stats to more efficiently deploy officers in certain areas at certain times where there's a higher incident, and it was just kind of interesting to see, kind of looking at trends and patterns and all that. The last one was just more, I guess the last one wasn't really discussed, but I noticed talking to a lot of people is the amount of car thefts out east seems significant. Like they said, it's been, I guess, I don't know if we've noticed it here, but they said the trend is, the amount is staggering, and they can watch their car get kind of shipped out east and all that. That was just from talking to a bunch of people.
Here we just steal the lug nuts.
I think it's more because of the shipping routes out east, but yeah.
Just getting back to the training, the board training, was BC sort of seen as a leader in that in any way? I'm just wondering because of the new revamped training seems to be, a huge step up.
Yeah, I think they were talking about having something kind of standardized and mandatory. Like this, they did. I don't remember. I don't honestly remember. I don't think BC was kind of specified. It's kind of I find a lot of stuff is east of the Rockies focused.
Yeah.
The same people who spoke at the BC conference were all said the exact same thing at this conference. So those were kind of the only voices I heard.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
So I'm thinking that across Canada, Raj, that, there's more municipal style police. When you think of like BC, I always think, we think about policing and we think about the whole province, but really there's only 12 of us that are getting Watson. There's only 12 police boards that are getting Watson training in BC. And when you think about that, there's the OPP in Ontario and then they have RCMP. The amount of training that would be going into the number of boards, I guess is my point, is that the number of boards in Ontario would be
There's
how many?
45. There's 45 municipal police departments.
Yeah.
The Ontario Provincial Police is mandated by the province. It's a
Yeah.
provincial police, so they don't have a
They
board.
don't have boards.
Oh, so they don't have boards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Formalized training. I think BC is kind of the lead on doing the Watson training, which is kind of nice. I think it kind of gets everybody at the same level. Otherwise, most of the stuff in Ontario is kind of just like here's a book and go for it.
Good luck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we need to be promoted. My point was more about the size, is like there's only 12 boards in British Columbia that are getting Watson training. And it could be the standard, so that every province didn't run around trying to create their own, because it is a good training module. And it's just the fact that sometimes when you're the small guy, it's like, oh yeah, you don't get to say, no, you should really be taking a look at it. Don't be going and reinventing the wheel in every province across the Canada.
I think that was the trend. Like, I think Watson was brought up too.
Yeah, oh, that's good.
I just can't,
Yeah.
I lost my notes.
Could you tell us where next year's round is? And please don't tell me it's another place
East
in
Coast.
Eastern Canada.
Victoria.
Oh, the other coast. Okay.
Yeah, so they announced, I mean.
Yeah, because they always do a little thing at the very end. They tell you where it is. It was
Well,
just
they
like,
told us at the start, and they said, oh, we're revealing where it is, and everyone said, we already know.
oh,
Thanks,
okay.
don't come to this.
Because it was absolutely astounding when I was sitting there and when we were in St. John. It's like, is it Halifax? I said, well, no, I'm not flying back across Canada for this again. Like, that was just crazy that they had 2 in a row in Eastern Canada
That's
for the
far
expense for us
east you could get, yeah.
us to go there. But hopefully more of us can go then this year.
Yeah.
Victoria.
The only comment was, everyone said they knew where Nelson was, but not one person knew where it was, so I found that interesting.
Thanks for attending and for the report.
It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sat beside just someone, a Métis lady from Ontario, and she was very down to earth and kind of was interesting to sit beside, just looking at the kind of political aspect of, you know, people knowing boards and stuff like that. So that was kind of fun.
Mhm.
So I liked it. The next item is if there's any new business or late items. I didn't have any on here. Okay, and then that's it. If I can get a motion that the regular meeting of the 2024 of the Nelson Police Board be adjourned, and the next meeting be held on October 9th, 2024 at 4:30 p.m. Jane, and seconded, and can I get a vote? Motion passes. That was the short meeting.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron.